It's not surprising that many within the banking industry endeavor to provide services that are better centered around their customers. It also means that banks must become more responsive and adaptive than they ever have before. Today, I'm going to share some thoughts on 5 key areas and 5 key principles that banks must adopt and adjust to become more responsive to their customers' needs. Before getting into the details of my talk, let me tell you a little bit about me and the company I work for. My name is Eric Martz, and I am a leader in the banking industry at Red Hat. My passion is to make cloud technology an instrument for financial inclusion. My belief is that community-driven development is the way to do that. I joined Red Hat from HSBC, where I led teams to create products and services in the retail and corporate bank globally. I use my diverse experience in both technology and the banking industry to help make cloud technology an agent for positive change in the industry. The company I work for is named Red Hat. It is a leader in the communities that are building the future of cloud technology. It is built on the notion that open source accelerates innovation and makes cloud technology more accessible and usable to everyone. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's get into the thrust of the talk. First, let's look back where we came from. Many banking organizations are centered around the principles from the Industrial Revolution. The revolution was predicated on the notion of standardization. We all know the story of the Industrial Revolution. Manual and repetitive tasks were standardized, and then they were ruthlessly automated and refined over time. This meant that goods and services could be produced more efficiently and cheaply than ever before. It created brand new industries and made goods available to more people. It revolutionized the way we work. Today, we're in the midst of a new revolution. It's the digital revolution. It's been going on for about a decade or so. It's predicated on communication and information sharing. It's about making data available whenever and wherever we need it. New services have been created based on this information, and it has fundamentally reshaped our economy. It too is creating new industries and making services more inclusive. It is also revolutionizing the way we work and the economy around us. Increasingly, there are 4 characteristics that are defining the value chain. The first one is immediacy. Is the data in real time? The second one is about the contextualization of data. Is the data contextualized around my needs? Third is value. Is the data valuable to me? And then the last one is accessibility. Can I get at the data where I need it and when I need it? So let's talk about the first link in the value chain. Moving money is akin to the central nervous system of an economy. If it is slow, the entire economy is impacted. Financial services across the board that aren't in real time have a knock-on effect to the economy at large. Organizations will need to adapt as real-time services become the standard fixture of the digital economy in the future. If you look at the real-time payments movement, markets across the globe are investing in this new infrastructure so that commerce can happen instantaneously. As real-time becomes ubiquitous, customers will expect companies to better adapt to their changing needs in this new real-time world. This will deliver on one of the key elements of the digital value chain for payment processing. But surely this will have a knock-on effect for other types of financial services in the future as well. Being real-time is great, but it also needs to be in the context that customers need. Increasingly, digital services that customers interact with are outside the confines of their banking organization. It's no longer about the 4 walls of the banking, the banking organization. Whether it's shopping for a car or shopping for groceries, financial information is always a part of that experience. As those experiences change, so will the services about them. In short, the contextualization will cause you to need to be more adaptive and respond more quickly as well. You can see this in the Open API, open banking movement across the globe. Markets across the globe are defining these standards for exchanging financial information with third parties. This is reducing risk and sharing data and unlocking innovation and hopefully improving inclusion and competition as well. By making data more accessible, you're fueling one of the key elements of the digital value chain in our economy. Real-time accessibility is great, but you also need to be more valuable. Think about making a purchase. Looking up how much money you have in the bank is of course necessary and useful. However, having a service that provides recommendation on the purchase based on your financial well-being provides more value. In short, information sharing is just the tip of the iceberg. You need to be looking at the value chain as a whole and what value you're bringing with the data to your customers. If you look at the traditional distribution channels in the banking industry, it's centered around things like digital channels or call center or branch or face-to-face channels. Perhaps it's relationship managers, ATMs, et cetera, They're all centered around the banking organization. Increasingly, we think customer centricity is what's going to drive the future evolution in the digital world. We think that there's going to be more touch points digitally than ever before. We've already seen this happen in China and Asia, and are gradually starting to see movement in North America as well. We think that this is going to be the new way that customers want to interact with information, not within the four walls of the banking organization, but have the robust ecosystem around them of ways to access their information whenever they need it. Accessibility is also a critical element of the value chain. Increasingly, communication is also becoming ubiquitous. By 2023, there will almost be 30 billion devices connected to the internet. This has doubled in less than 7 years. Each connection is a potential point of contact for banking services. As these connection points are engaged and customers interact with them, they too will want to see that the services change and adapt quickly to their needs. This too means that you need to be more responsive than ever before. So what about the pandemic? The pandemic is accelerating the rate of change. Internet utilization has increased 30% this year and is likely to become the new normal as these customers who are unaccustomed to digital channels become more accustomed to interacting this way. Knowing what and why we're adapting from and to will inform the things that we need to change in the future. So now I'm going to talk about these 5 practices. Organizations that are more adaptive have addressed these 5 practices, and it enables them to change more quickly. These practices are centered around people and culture. It shouldn't be surprising, but it's also the most difficult. But it does create the most sustained value. Creating and maintaining a culture that is more inclusive, transparent, and ultimately more collaborative are key ingredients for organizations that are able to be more responsive. Changes become difficult if information is not openly shared. The other part of the equation is empowerment. Participants in communities need to be empowered to take action, and meritocracy must be rewarded or employees will be disillusioned and disengaged. So let's start off with the operating model. An operating model based on concepts from the Industrial Revolution is not fit for purpose for companies that are competing in the digital economy. Moving from teams aligned around technology functions to products and services can make it easier to respond to market change more quickly. Separating teams by technical tasks is not only inefficient, it also makes the organization less malleable to customer needs. Increasingly, the top-down hierarchical model of the past is no longer suitable for a world that is completely digitized. So let's talk about software delivery practices. Being able to deliver quality software more quickly and efficiently is, of course, what makes some organizations more adaptive than others. We all know about test-driven development, continuous integration, and delivery. These are obvious practices that software development teams should adopt. But community-driven development can be that next step in helping organizations break down communication barriers and deliver software more quickly and efficiently. Architectures also can be a positive force for change. Distributed architectures of the past were heavily influenced by specialty functions within the bank. Think about the layered architectures of the past. There were user interfaces, then there's messaging, integration, and databases, which were separated out into specific layers. Conway's law meant that the architecture looked a lot like the layout of the technology organization. Cloud-native architectures break down these boundaries and allow organizations to better adapt their architecture to the products and services that the bank needs to deliver on for their customers, instead of the technology organization around it. Truly, it is an outside-in view as opposed to an inside-out view, and the architecture reflects the adaptive nature of the digital world around it. So architectures are becoming more distributed than ever before. It also means that the right technology needs to be deployed to support them. Cloud technology is built from the ground up to support these new types of architectures. Without them, customers and partners will be less effective and could potentially be slower and less adaptive than they were. They go hand in hand. The next practice is focused on data, both data in motion and data at rest. Centralization of data and overzealous data governance can be a bottleneck. By employing data-driven, microservice, and event-driven architectures, organizations can adopt a more decentralized approach to value creation. This can be a key enabler for real-time processing as well. And we already talked about it as an essential component in the digital value chain. The final practice is on service operations. Moving towards a more proactive model of service operations can help banks free themselves from the reactive quagmire of traditional operations. Systems are more interconnected than ever before, and by embracing a model of service reliability and continuous improvement, organizations can be more resilient and ultimately more open to change. Mastering these 5 practices can create an environment where change is not feared, but it is openly embraced. So I want to talk a little bit about creating sustainable change. Creating sustainable change goes beyond adopting these practices. Organizations need to internalize how they work together. I'm going to spend the next couple of minutes talking about 5 principles that will help teams to do that. Our former CEO wrote a book on this topic. It really took a lot of the lessons in the open source communities and applied it to the broader organization. It also talked about the changes from a more hierarchical model that he saw in his previous work experience and how the inner workings of Red Hat worked as an open organization. It talks primarily about collaboration as a key to success, but it also talked about inclusiveness and meritocracy and how that would foster increased collaboration. The open organization is based on 5 key principles. The first principle is inclusiveness. Diverse opinions are sought out and engaged. It isn't just about inviting more people to a meeting or putting more people on copy on an email. It's about respecting and welcoming those diverse opinions. Transparency. Information is freely shared so that people can participate more fully. Without transparency, you will stifle participation. All the information needs to be available so that people can contribute their skills to the conversation. Collaboration. People need to believe that working together creates better results. Through the refinement of review, those results are going to be stronger than if they were done without it. Teams need to believe in collaboration. Community. Share goals and principles to inform decision making. Being aligned on the mission at hand helps foster community. And then lastly, adaptability. People are empowered to use collaborative problem solving, decision making, and apply continuous learning. So I hope you enjoyed this talk and you will enjoy the rest of the event. Please reach out to Red Hat if you want to learn more about these 5 practices and 5 principles for a more adaptive organization. Thank you and have a great day.